When I was a young priest, I got assigned to McCall. That was just, to be honest, that was really an easy parish. I literally skied 4 days a week. And I wanted to work, but it's a resort town. And I loved it, so all the people were on the hill, so why not go skiing? And these people would move to McCall. And McCall, a resort town in the mountains, beautiful. And you'd meet these people who would move from out of state, discover McCall, move there, and some of them, they wanted to kind of restart their whole life. And they moved to McCall, but they wanted a whole, do-over and restart their life. But the problem, you'd see that, yes, they'd move, but the same problems they had in whatever state they came from, they really just brought with them. The move wasn't really a restart. It was a distraction for about a year. And then their same problems that they've always had just return instead of working on the problems. What they really opted for was a distraction. It wasn't a whole new beginning. And I mention that because, we're about to celebrate Christmas. And Christmas celebrates that we're the people who can see the light, Christ, coming in the world in a new way. And it always strikes me, is Christmas really a new beginning, or is Christmas just a distraction for a couple weeks? You got the toys and the celebrations, but after that, really it's the same old problems you've always had. And part of an Advent spirituality is we're supposed to be a people that longs for a brand new start, longs for a whole new world. We want a restart, not a distraction. And that's supposed to be part of our spirituality. And like one of our parishioners, I think she's pretty amazing. She kind of had a rough start in the beginning of her life where she was put up for adoption. And for some reason, I don't really understand, but being put up for adoption was kind of her greatest shame. It really affected her. Even when she was dating her husband, finally they're dating, they're thinking about getting married, and she starts to cry and tell him, there's something I have to tell you. To be honest, I'm adopted. And he was like, well, what does that matter? It wouldn't matter at all. But that was her big shame. And when she was growing up, there was this older woman this bitter old woman who used to mock her for being adopted. Just incredibly cruel. But she did meet this other woman who was incredibly loving. And she had the two women in her life. But she always kind of lived with the shame of being adopted. We all have our own private shames. And to be honest, she was kind of mad at God that she was abandoned. And so she stopped practicing her faith. She gave up on it. And she says one day she clearly hears God say to her, what woman do you want to become? The old bitter woman or the woman of love? And she said, once Christ said that to her, she actually returns back to the church. And now, after years, she's kind of a well-seasoned old, I wanted to avoid that word, well-seasoned lady. And the best part is she did become a woman of love. I admire her story. But I also like the idea that really in all our life, Christ gives us the choice. What do you want to become? This bitter old woman or the woman of love? And it's a choice. And to become the woman of love, at least she was smart enough to instantaneously know that she has to give up her former life of anger. She immediately changed her life, becomes a very active Catholic, but she wanted a whole new beginning. To me, that's an Advent spirituality. I don't want to be the same that I've always been. I don't want the same shames and problems. I want a whole restart to become a person of love. That's an Advent spirituality. And the theme of kind of a new beginning, that's what's in the readings. We have John the Baptist. John the Baptist symbolizes a new beginning. He's this prophet. Remember, Malachi said a prophet would come and announce the coming of Christ. John the Baptist fulfills that. He goes out into the desert and he calls people to a restart. And John the Baptist symbolized somebody that just doesn't fit the status quo, blows it out of the water. Not because he's like a teenager who just wants to be a contrarian. Just John the Baptist just doesn't fit in. Look at him. He wears camel hairs and eats locusts, and he's just wild and untamed. But when I say wild, I don't really see him as angry. I see him kind of like, did you ever meet this priest, Father Bruno, the Italian? Anybody ever meet him? Okay, few people. He's wild. He's just out of control. But like he is like real Italian. And this is the amazing part. He also was adopted, put in an orphanage during World War II. When you're talking to Bruno, in my mind, he's always like 30 years old. But really, he's in his 70s. You know, he was abandoned in World War II, and yet he's very joyful. But he just does not fit. Sorry to say this. He's just his own person, authentically authentic. He's just kind of a unique individual. And like Bruno, the first time I met him, I was in the seminary. And I met him with this nun, and this nun introduces us, and he was traveling through Idaho, and the nun, who's a friend of his, says, "Oh, where's your luggage?" And Bruno says, "Who needs luggage? When I run out of underwear, I go to Kmart." And like, that's Bruno. He's not going to be carrying around luggage. He's kind of like John the Baptist. He just doesn't fit in. Now, Bruno, a very loving person. He doesn't, I was kind of surprised. The only time I've seen him get angry is with lazy priests who care more about power than actually service. That's the only thing he gets upset with. But John the Baptist just doesn't fit into society. And he's calling people to a whole new existence. Not more of the same. This complete newness. So he gets all these people to Jerusalem to come back to the Jordan. Not just the Jordan River, but the exact spot that when the people left Egypt and then crossed through the Jordan River into the Promised Land, he calls them back to that exact same spot. And how we know that's the exact same spot is if you read the Bible. What the people did when they were going to leave Egypt behind and start this whole new life, in the Jordan River, they put these huge stones so that they'd always remember the spot where they got a new beginning. So John the Baptist believes the Messiah is coming. He calls everybody back to this place where the stones are. All those people that came, the crowd, what they symbolize is people that are tired of the status quo. They don't want to be the same that they've always been. They don't want the world the same. They're like our elderly woman who chooses a whole new beginning to her life. That's who the crowds are. We're supposed to be them. We want the world to change. We want a whole new beginning. We don't want the same hatreds and prejudices and corruption. We're hoping the Messiah changes everything in us. That's what the crowd is. And when John the Baptist says, he gets upset with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, those are two opposite groups, and they don't get along. But because everybody's going out saying they want to welcome the Messiah, the Pharisees and the Sadducees showed up. The Sadducees, they're very corrupt, but they're very wealthy. And then you have the Pharisees. The Pharisees, they're very rigorous on the rules and regulations. But the Pharisees, they love to hate these people, and don't forget, Pharisees hate those people. So think about this. The Sadducees show up, but they want the same corrupt system that they're making huge amounts of money off of. The Pharisees show up for a new beginning, but they want to keep the same hatreds they've always had. That's not a new beginning. That's like saying, I want to move to McCall and start over, but carry the same exact problems. The crowd that shows up to the river at the stones, they're the ones who want a whole new beginning. Or the first reading, I love that, where the people that can greet the Messiah are people where it says, the lamb and the wolf will be friends. The leopard and the kid goat will be friends. The cow and the bear will be good neighbors. It's just a poetic way of saying people that normally are natural enemies one group abusing another, they'll all love each other. The idea is that the world the Messiah wants to bring is where we're not divided up into them and, who we get to hate. That's exactly what the Pharisees want. The Messiah, after that, goes off on justice, that there'll be justice. All people will be treated equally. That is not what the Sadducees want. They want the same corrupt system. So John the Baptist gets furious with them, and he says, who told you people you're going to escape the wrath? Kind of harsh. When the Messiah comes, he's going to do away with corruption and hatred. You're not going to like that world. You won't be able to welcome it. The point of the readings today is that we're supposed to be the people that, the world might be corrupt and there might be hatred, but we're the ones who long to be a whole new beginning. And when John the Baptist says, I'm not fit to untie his sandal straps, that's a very Jewish way that if you're going to learn from a rabbi, you'd go to the rabbi and say, let me see how you tie and untie your sandals. It's a way of saying, John the Baptist, what he's saying is, I don't know what the Messiah will teach. Can't tell you what his teaching is. I can tell you it will be a whole new beginning, doing away with hatred and division and corruption. For the people who show up, who cross the river, what it symbolizes is that we're supposed to be those people. We're supposed to be like the elderly woman who is tired of a life of shame and bitterness, wants a whole new beginning. Now, not just in preparation for Christmas, but that Advent spirituality is supposed to be part of the personality of every Christian. Yeah, we may love the world and love life, but we want a whole new beginning, a whole new type of relating to other people. Otherwise, we work this weekend on having that. Otherwise, Christmas comes, and all it is a distraction for a few weeks. We want to pray that we're the people who long for a whole new beginning where we won't end up a bitter old woman, but a woman of love. And so together, let us stand and profess our faith.